I don't know if it's like a proper question, but I've been thinking about it. Because sometimes when I'm during my day, I find myself sometimes very distracted, not only in things that I see on the street, or just that I feel that my mind is kind of distracted. How do you practice more
control the mind?
exactly contemplation?
Nice question. Good. Want to give us that question in Spanish? So,
Sí.
are we on live here? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on. What are we on? Facebook or something?
Facebook.
Facebook. Everybody out on Facebook. Okay. All right. So, give that question clearly in Spanish so that the devotees in Mexico.
Sí, pregunta Blanca que en su día a día, que a lo mejor siente que no es una pregunta apropiada, pero muchas veces se siente distraída. Entonces, ¿cómo hacerle para que en la práctica esté más enfocada? ¿Sí, no?
All right. So, do you have a Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
Okay. So, forgive me, but I don't remember exactly which chapter and where, but before you go today, we can find out and you can see. Arjuna, who's the main, or second main character in Bhagavad Gita, he's the disciple. Krishna has taken the position of the teacher, the guru. And various things are recommended to Arjuna. His situation at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so Krishna begins to recommend different things for him. And in the course of it, pretty much Krishna outlines the fundamental yoga system of meditation, of asana, of these practices in general. And Arjuna says, this is impossible because to control the mind is like to control the wind. The wind just, you cannot control the wind. The wind just comes and goes. So in these various yoga practices, the mind is still, as a friend of mine says in Vermont, off the chain. You know what that means, off the chain? Like the dog, when it's off the chain, it just runs, right? So the mind is unleashed, it's off the chain. It's almost impossible to control the mind, particularly in this age, when we can turn on a very high quality radio right here with an antenna and pick up sound and signals from hundreds of different channels around the world. What to speak of television, thousands of channels on television, that's all right here in the air. It's all right here in the ether. And your mind is situated in the ether also, in the space within. And it's bombarded by these things we don't even imagine. I mean, you're not conscious of these things, although it sometimes happens when driving a car. If you had the old style of fillings in your teeth, oh, I'm going too fast. All right. The old style of fillings in your teeth, you can pick up radio signals in your teeth, and the sound will come out. Right, Jaydev?
Yes.
You experienced that, or you've been around? Back in the 70s, it was quite an occurrence, because they used to put, what did they put in our teeth?
Mercury or
poison, another type of poison. And it would pick up radio signals. And you're all of a sudden you're going, it's like, what's going on? Not radio, but the police frequency would be picked up by your teeth. So there's stuff out there, thick in the atmosphere. And this will remind me to talk about all the chemicals that were in the atmosphere yesterday that are being sprayed by the government, but no one's looking up and going, what is this? And then by afternoon, it was a fog all over this part of Mexico.
A mist.
It was like a mist. That's called chemtrails. That's another thing. But without that, the subtle energy is there, and this does affect the mind. That's one thing. Okay? You want to summarize that?
Yes. Como dijo que en el Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna está recibiendo ciertas instrucciones de Krishna, hablándole sobre la mente. Pero llega a una conclusión Arjuna de que en todo este proceso la mente es mucho más difícil que controlar, incluso que el viento, ¿no? Dice Guru Maharaj, el viento anda por todos lados, es difícil de controlar. Incluso en el mismo proceso, para controlar la mente es casi imposible. Es como, decía, es como cuando un perro se te escapa de la cadena, no es fuera de control. Y entonces son energías sutiles que siempre están ahí. Decía en los 70s, tienes un radio y puedes cachar muchas señales. Y están pasando a través de este éter que está entre nosotros, este espacio. Y todas esas señales que están entrando pegaban en el mercurio que luego tenemos entre los dientes, que también es otro veneno, y provoca ciertas cosas también malas en nosotros. Y entonces todas estas energías sutiles son muy difíciles de controlar.
All right, so I wanted to just make that clear in the beginning, that all of the problems that disturb the mind are not just automatically within our control. There are outside elements which we can't even perceive with the naked ear or the naked eye, but these things are there, and the mind can pick up on these things. Okay.
Hay cosas externas que están entrando a nosotros, pero que también están como jalando a nuestra mente y picándole.
Another thing is the moon. The moon. The moon affects the mind. This is standard knowledge in astrology. We're all affected by the moon. Water is affected by the moon. You have water in the body. In fact, the body is 98% water. So therefore, you can understand, oh, yes, the moon affects water, it affects the tides, it affects plants, the moon is a very strong influence over planet Earth in many, many ways.
La luna es otra cosa que afecta a nuestra mente. Afecta a la mente y afecta también al agua. Y si vemos, nuestro cuerpo está compuesto por un 99% de agua. Y por lo tanto afecta a nuestro cuerpo, afecta a las plantas. Y entonces la luna tiene mucha influencia sobre nosotros en muchas, muchas formas.
In Bhakti Yoga, there are 2 days in a month where fasting is recommended, and it's in relation to the moon. The moon will tell us when we should be doing fasting, and then there are different types of fasting depending on the people, the situation in life, what part they can do, a complete fasting or partial fasting. But fasting is recommended twice in a month in Bhakti Yoga. The day's called Ekadasi, and yes, and and this is all to counteract that negative influence which comes. And then there's a positive aspect also.
En el Bhakti Yoga se recomienda ayunar 2 veces al mes, se le llama Ekadasi, y esto también va en relación con la luna y ayuda a reducir la influencia de las cuestiones negativas. Y depende cómo va a ser el ayuno, es de acuerdo a las circunstancias, al tiempo y a la persona también.
So you're beginning to see that things are not just ABC. There's a vast interacting arrangement and over our existence, and even our existence. What is the heart? Until I had cancer a few years ago, I didn't even know what a kidney was, and I certainly didn't know I had 2 of them. Right? When the doctor was suggesting, well, we can operate and take out your kidney, and I said, well, how do I live? He said, well, you have an extra one, you have 2, you know. So we're all living, we're not even aware of what's going on inside the body. We're all concerned with just how we look or how we're dressed or, you know, simple things like that, if our shoes fit. But inside is a very, very complex organ. ¿Sí? ¿Comprende? Okay.
Este proceso no nada más es como, no hay un ABC a seguir, sino en nuestra existencia siempre hay como cambios en las cuestiones de todo, como por ejemplo, dice que hasta que se enfermó de cáncer, fue cuando supo que tenía un riñón, e incluso 2 riñones, cuando ya el doctor le dijo, pues te tenemos que quitar un riñón. ¿Y cómo te voy a sobrevivir? Dijo, pues tienes otro riñón. Entonces, siempre estamos pensando nada más el cómo nos vemos, no somos alertas, no estamos alertas de lo que hay a nuestro alrededor.
So in the yoga system, asana is fundamental, it's essential, you can say, and that has nothing to do with the mind other than maybe our determination to stick with it and do it. But when you come to dhyana, meditation, then we're completely at a loss in this modern age. Completely at a loss. There are just so many subtle and gross influences that ancient systems of meditation, of remaining basically silent and silencing all your senses is almost impossible. You can shut your eyes so you won't see something, but how long can you keep your eyes shut? You know, we have to drive cars, walk, watch out for the buses in Guanajuato. They'll kill you for sure, you know. You better watch out. You have to keep your eyes open. You got to keep your ears open, you know. You know, all these things. And then we have our deeper desires that are unavoidable in this life. So the old systems of meditation are very insufficient.
El asana eso es esencial, es fundamental para la práctica de lo que es el yoga. Pero cuando llegas al punto del dhyana, que es la meditación, ahí sí estamos completamente perdidos. ¿Por qué? Porque hay muchas influencias que son sutiles y muy burdas. Como se dice, es que hay que meditar en silencio, pero meditar en silencio es silenciar los sentidos. Pero los sentidos es muy difícil de silenciarlos. Y lo que dice es que mejor estar alertas con estos ojos que tenemos para ser atropellados por los camiones que hay en Guanajuato, tener el oído atento, pero aparte de todo eso, controlar eso, existe lo que son los deseos inevitables que tenemos cada quien.
So in the Bhakti Yoga system of meditation, which means the control of the mind, the system is not to silence your senses, but to engage all of your senses in Krishna's service.
Entonces en el Bhakti Yoga, donde dice que es el control de la mente, el silenciar los sentidos no es lo correcto, sino más bien todos esos sentidos, involucrarlos y envolverlos en actividades.
Now, we may have been, if you can speculate, we may have even all have been yogis at some point in a previous life, at some point somewhere. We have been on the spiritual path. We have tried to progress spiritually.
Y especulemos que nosotros ya hemos sido yogis en previas vidas y que ya estuvimos en el camino espiritual.
But the fact that we're here means we haven't been successful.
Pero el hecho que estemos aquí es que no hemos sido exitosos.
If we were successful and we had no material desires or no anarthas, no misgivings, no bad karma, if we didn't have any of that, we wouldn't be here. There's a better place.
Hay un mejor lugar para todo esto, pero debido a que no fuimos exitosos, pues esto quiere decir que todavía tenemos nuestros deseos, nuestras cosas.
So the Bhakti Yoga system is not only how to busy all of our senses, which become distractions for the mind, not only that, but how to take our desires, we have desires, and how to, it's called dovetail, those desires also in the service of Krishna. And our talents. Some of us are, I'll leave myself out there. Some of you are vastly talented. You are artists, you know music, you can do things. I can barely keep these things going in a straight rhythm. So, but if you just play, heavy metal, rap, even folk music, whatever, wapango, mariachi, everything, this will be a distraction for your mind because these are material sounds. So you engage art, music, poetry, all these things in it with a devotional aptitude.
No nada más se trata que en el Bhakti Yoga ocupes todos tus sentidos para que no estén distraídos, sino más bien también todos esos deseos que tenemos, debemos de enfocarlos en algo y también nuestros talentos envolverlos en el servicio. Pero aún así puede ser que alguien tenga talento para la pintura o por la música. Si eres talentoso para la música, pero a lo mejor nada más estás tocando rap y heavy metal, esos son sonidos materiales que no ayudan.
Now I'll give you more and more examples about this. The senses. we think of hearing and smelling and seeing as senses. Certainly there are senses, but the tongue is also a sense, and the stomach is also a sense. And it's always crying for food, and it's always crying for taste. So some people are voracious eaters. They just eat all day long. All day long. They're drinking diet sodas, this and that. There was this one lady, she was fighting some case against Coca-Cola Company for Diet Cokes had aspartame in it, and she was trying to prove because of the aspartame she got tumors and all this stuff. And it came out she's drinking 16 Diet Cokes a day. I thought, oh, maybe the lady's drinking 2 a day. No, she's drinking 16. How does she have to put that much liquid in the body all day long? So some people are, they have no control of their tongue. They have no control of their appetite. And you see that as soon as you go out there, too much of the wrong thing. And so there's a way to control that in Bhakti Yoga.
Entonces los sentidos normalmente los generalizamos con el oler, el ver, el escuchar, el sentir, pero también nuestro estómago, nuestra pancita es un sentido que siempre está llorando por comer, nuestra lengua. Y hay un caso de una señorita o señora en Estados Unidos que estaba peleando en contra de Coca-Cola porque tenía aspartamo y te provocaba tumores y todo, pero al fin de cuentas esta señorita estaba tomando 16 Coca-Colas al día, que cómo era posible que metiera tanto líquido en su cuerpo. Pero entonces, como podemos ver, es que no hay control del apetito, no hay control del sabor, siempre queremos algo. Y el proceso del Bhakti Yoga, hay una forma para también llegar a eso.
Do we have Art of Sadhana over there?
Sí.
Art of Sadhana? I don't think we do. We published a book a few years ago called The Art of Sadhana. And sadhana means the practicing stage of Bhakti Yoga. And this was a book which was a combination of lectures. We do.
Sí.
Voila. Fantastic. This is a book. It's a compilation of lectures given by our guru Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. Now this is a picture of him when he was younger. He was 102 years old when we published this book. And the next year he passed away. So in a bookstore you see this, the art of sadhana. This might be the art of Michelangelo, the art of haiku, or different types of art. So, but it's not that type of art. It's the practicing art. Bhakti Yoga is an art form. It's a lifestyle art form. The practice of sadhana is what enables us to control the mind. And you can pass it around, everybody can look at it. And in sadhana, regulation is important. So people who have the problem of controlling their eating, their diet, one of the things to do is you don't snack all day. You eat at 2 or 3 times a day, but you just don't constantly, you regulate the eating. In the beginning it's very, very difficult, but in the end, you won't want to eat in between meals. All this vanishes. It's a practice. In order to get it right, you have to be determined. There are some failures. I'm just giving a simple example of eating, right? So when you're eating something very, very tasty, where does your mind go? It goes there. It goes all about that. And when your mind is too disturbed, you can't even eat. So all the senses are connected and have influence over the mind. Even your habits of eating, your habits of sleeping. Krishna says to Arjuna, a yogi does not sleep too much or too little. You must sleep what your body requires at a particular stage of life, or if you're sick, you sleep more, and this and that. And at the times that you sleep are also paramount important. The day is divided in the Vedic concept of time into what's called muhurtas. And there are astrological influences over all of these muhurtas, including one called Rahu. And Rahu is the dark influence. And Rahu is there every single day. It's a period of time during the day. Some period of time is overruled by Saturn, some the moon, some Mars. Throughout the day, the planets are influencing. But there's one time where none of the planets have any influence materially over us, and that's called the Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta, the spiritual Muhurta. And that is the starting from sunrise up to 2 hours before sunrise. During that time, it is most difficult to learn to wake up and be active and be practicing sadhanas. But in fact, once that regulation is achieved, you will hate to sleep past that time. Because that is considered the period of enlightenment in the day, where the window is open for fast spiritual progress. The rest of the day, the Muhurtas are ruled by what's called the modes of material nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance, and they mix. And it is more difficult during the day to do these spiritual practices. Again, now, asanas, the fundamental practices, alone is not spiritual. No position, Padmasana, no position in the 2,000 some asanas in itself spiritual. And if you go to the Russian circus, wow, you'll see some yogis there. They can do everything. They're contortionists. They're not in yoga consciousness. But just an asana, standalone, is not spiritual. If it's being done as part of a spiritual process, then it's connected, you see. Now what to speak of the other practices. The morning, chanting mantras, all these things, study. Oh, okay, you translate that much. There's more about the mind.
Hablaba del arte del sadhana, que es un libro que publicó Bhaktivinoda Puri Maharaj cuando tenía la edad de 102 años, a los 103 años se va. Y bueno, podemos escuchar que se escucha como el arte de Miguel Ángel, muy artístico, pero ese es el arte de la práctica, el arte de la práctica de nuestro proceso, de lo que estamos realizando. Y aquí mencionaba que cuando uno se adentra a esta práctica, nos va a habilitar a poder ir por más o también tener una regulación en las cosas. Como por ejemplo ponía el ejemplo de que vemos personas que comemos 2 o 3 veces al día, o hay veces que nada más te las pasas snackeando, ¿no? Decía que para poder alcanzar un estado donde puedas controlar esa lengua, ese estómago, pues tiene que haber un poco de determinación de nuestra parte para poder lograrlo. Krishna en el Bhagavad Gita de hecho menciona que un yogi no duerme mucho ni duerme muy poco, eso depende de tu organismo, ¿no? Y decía que muchas veces nos vamos a adentrar en la práctica y cuando llega el momento de pararse temprano y todo eso, después de un tiempo de la práctica vamos a odiar hasta pararnos tarde. Hablaba de la parte astrológica, que son los muhurtas, que hay partes del día que se le llama Rahu, que donde hay una influencia muy oscura dentro de todo el ambiente, porque es con los satélites, con la luna, con los planetas en sí, y que siempre nos están influenciando por las modalidades de la naturaleza influenciadas, mezcladas, que es la bondad, que es la pasión y la ignorancia. Pero hay una parte también que se llama el Brahma Muhurta, que es una parte donde se considera que antes de que salga el sol, 2 horas para atrás es la mejor parte donde nos podemos parar a cantar mantras, hacer nuestras prácticas. Y como decía hace rato, después de una regulación vamos a odiar hasta el pararnos tarde, ¿no? Porque ya sientes esa necesidad de pararte a esas horas. También mencionaba que el asana no debe de ser solo, porque las prácticas de solo asanas no tienen que ver nada con lo espiritual. Y ya.
There's a saying, an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Hay un dicho que no, es como dice, el taller del diablo, no, una mente ociosa es el taller del diablo, ¿sí, verdad?
Sí.
For example, in the big cities of the world, San Francisco, New York, London, Mexico City, you have a lot of young people with nothing to do. And so what do? They end up concocting something bad to do, right? Idle mind. So, people who work in the inner cities and try to help people, they try to bring in sports and clubs and chess clubs and things to engage people. And this, in many cases, is completely enough to get young people away from drug abuse or away from senseless violence and crime and things like this. But if they have nothing, and in the extreme case, poverty is there too, they have no money, family at home is a mess, mom and dad are fighting, it's all a mess, they have nothing, then they usually go to the worst of influences. So even socially speaking, to engage people in positive works helps them become better people.
Hablando socialmente, el involucrar o el motivar a gente a que se mantenga ocupada, pues te ayuda a estar mejor. Pero hay gente o jóvenes en la ciudad o en muchas partes donde no hacen nada prácticamente y que se termina haciendo pues acudiendo a las drogas o simplemente haciendo cosas raras y malas donde caes a ciertos abusos. Pero hay también como grupos de, pues obviamente las compañías trabajando y aparte la otra parte que es de los deportes, involucrando a la gente para hacer algo dinámico y
So in
productivo.
Bhakti Yoga, sacrifice and austerity, tapasya, these are important practices.
Entonces en el Bhakti Yoga es muy importante el sacrificio y las austeridades. Austeridades es tapasya, que es muy importante para la práctica.
Bhagavad Gita recommends to control the mind, you have to engage the mind in some austerity, tapasya.
Para regular la mente, en el Bhagavad Gita se menciona que es necesario que la mente esté involucrada en las tapacias, en la austeridad.
And a list, not a long list, but several tapasyas are mentioned. Tapasyas for the mind. Chanting mantras is a mental tapasya.
Para la mente, un tipo de tapasya es el cantar mantras.
Studying the Vedas, studying philosophy, trying to understand what points of knowledge and they're connecting, how they're connecting the dots, how to understand the subject of the absolute truth, to engage the mind in that way. It is a tapasya, it's an austerity.
También el estudio de los Vedas, de la filosofía, el tratar de entender, el conectar los puntos acerca de la verdad absoluta, eso es un tipo de tapasya también.
To associate with like-minded people, that's also important. It's called asat sanga tyaga. God save us from our friends. Give up bad association. Bad association. Don't keep company with people who have no principles in life. Don't keep company with people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol and various socially unacceptable behaviors and who have bad habits, because you will become like those that you associate with. It is a principle, pure as and as simple as anything. Sports stars hang out with sports stars. Poets hang out at poetry clubs. Artists hang out in artist guilds. Yogis hang out at the shalas and the ashrams. You cannot expect the result of bhakti yoga, or really any yoga system, if you just have a small period of practice and then the rest of your life is in anti-spiritual activities. Diet is super important. You have no idea. Like I say this to people all the time, if you knew what I knew, you would stop eating meat yesterday, immediately. Because there's a karma in this meat. It's the death of an innocent creature. What to speak of the chemicals that are there present. You know, when you buy biscuits or cookies, they have to list the chemicals or anything, ingredients. But when you buy meat, nothing is on the wrapper. Nothing. And there's over 200 chemicals present in any modern piece of meat. But it doesn't say list all the chemicals, including the red dye that makes it red. In La Comer, you go, the meat is red. When you have meat, 4 hours later, it's brown. The air just turns it brown like a banana. Or avocados, you cut them, right? And you let it sit there and it gets black looking. Well, meat gets that and then it doesn't look so good. So there's chemical dyes, there's all this stuff. But even worse than that is the karma that is involved. And that will create disease within us, and that affects the mind also, both those things. It's actually said in the rules of karma that when you eat in a restaurant, you get a portion of all the karma of all the people who are also eating in the restaurant and the people who cooked it. I'm not making this up. So What if that person who cooks it's a child molester? What if he's a murderer? What if he's some kind of pervert? And he just cooked even your vegetables.
Yes.
So in Bhakti Yoga, the more you are serious in the practice, these little things become very, very important. Where we will eat, cooked by who, how, and what. All very important. Bhagavad Gita stresses the diet. You are what you eat, one modern philosopher said. In many ways, we become what we eat. We become like the association that we keep around us. We become like the music we listen to. Wow, music is so, influential over our consciousness, not just our mind, because behind all this is our overall consciousness. Music, very important. What type of music we listen to. Also very important. There is spiritual music, and then there's just music that lifts the moment and creates the mood. One must be careful there. Yesterday at that bike fest, they were playing one rap song, and all they were doing was shouting the F word in a muffled tone of voice. That's all they were saying, is F-U, F-U. The whole song was just that. And the music was, you know, and I'm like, we're like, gotta get out of here. So we jumped on our bikes and rode away. You know? And music, not just, well, once you hear something, but show a child a very violent vampire music, movie with all that scare you and put bumps on your skin kind of music, and there's great chances the kid wakes up in the middle of the night screaming with nightmares. What to speak of if it's real. When they know the TV's not real, that's one thing. But if they see someone get their head cut off, take a child to a slaughterhouse sometime. And you got a problem kid on your hands after that. Because it's not TV. You know, it's not just something there with a little music. It's real and it's horrifying. So, well, if you pay, I know you're paying attention, but if you know what I'm saying, it's to control the mind and make the mind your friend and not your enemy. It can be your friend or your enemy, is what Bhagavad Gita says. It's like trying to go in the Sierras and catch a wild horse. It's not easy, but it is possible. But it's not possible just by one thing alone. We require, just like when you go into an emergency ward in a car accident, well, they got everything on you. You know, they got a respirator giving you oxygen, they got your pulse, they're giving you insulin, they're giving you blood, they're got everything going to save your life. It's not just usually one thing. So that the mind, to make it our friend and bring it under control, there's the whole system of Bhakti Yoga. And if the more you adapt of it, the more you practice of it, then you'll find that your mind is your friend. But still, because of these outside influence, it's a battle. It's a battle for life. There is no retirement in Bhakti Yoga. You don't retire. It's like you're a physicist, but you retire. Or you're so many things in this world, but you retire. But the Bhakti Yogis don't retire. And if they do, it's out of this world. That's where retirement takes place.
Okay. Lo primero que decía es que la asociación con la gente es de mucha influencia y recomienda que no hay que asociarse con gente que no tiene principios, que tiene deberes inaceptables en la vida. Hablaba también, si te asocias con gente que se droga, que toma mucho, así, hay un principio muy en común que siempre vas a terminar siendo como con las personas que te asocias. Y de ahí brinco a lo que es la parte de la dieta, que la dieta es muy importante, que recomienda que hay que parar de comer carne de inmediato. ¿Pero por qué? Está la cuestión del karma y está la cuestión de la salud, porque tiene mucho veneno la carne. O ponía el ejemplo de que si vas a la comer, puedes ver la etiqueta te compras unos panquecillos y muchísimos químicos, ¿no? Pero también ves la carne y no tiene nada y se ve muy rojita y atractiva, pero la carne real después de 4 horas la ves y es como cuando ves un aguacate que después de un tiempo de que lo abres se empieza a hacer negro la carne igual. Y ponía el ejemplo también de que cuando estás incluso en un restaurante, te va a influenciar lo que estás comiendo, aparte la gente que está alrededor y directamente la conciencia del cocinero, de lo que esté haciendo. Esa es una parte, ¿no? Pero la parte más fuerte de la carne es la cuestión karmática. Y dice que es como si tomaras a un niño y lo llevas, por ejemplo, a un matadero. El niño, si lo llevas directo al matadero, ver qué es lo que se va a comer después, va a estar traumado de por vida, vas a tener problemas si tú sigues comiendo carne, ¿no? También mencionó que muchas veces ese cocinero que esté en el restaurante, no sabemos de qué sea, ¿no? Puede ser un violador, un pedófilo, un asesino, alguien que está en mala conciencia. Entonces, si te tomas seria una práctica del Bhakti Yoga, esta parte de la carne es una parte muy importante, como hay un dicho de que eres todo lo que comes. Y como mencioné anteriormente, nos vamos a volver con la asociación que tengamos. Si somos poetas, nos asociamos con poetas, ¿no? Si somos músicos, con músicos, somos físicos, con físicos, así es un ejemplo, ¿no? Pero decía que la música es una influencia muy fuerte, porque es una energía muy sutil que penetra mucho en la conciencia, que hay música espiritual, hay música que solo es música, y hay música que ayuda a degradarte. Y también que si a un niño, puso el ejemplo, lo pones a ver un video de cosas que te alteren, como violencia o del matadero y eso, probablemente ese niño va a tener pesadillas y va a despertar llorando. Entonces la mente, para controlar la mente es que puede ser tu enemigo o tu amigo. Como decía, no es fácil, pero es posible. Y existe un completo sistema dentro del Bhakti Yoga donde poco a poco se va a ir adaptando, pero dice que no es como que sigues el proceso y ya pum, porque tienes la influencia externa también, y no es como, soy un físico, ya terminé mi trabajo por muchos años, me retiro. El Bhakti Yoga es de por vida, porque es una batalla día a día.
Now, what I said about engage the senses to control the mind. Now, you can see in your own life, and observing the lives of others, you can even see it in movies, it's played out as a role, where somebody's disturbed or anything like that. Well, come on, George, let's go out and play some golf. So get your mind off of it, they'll say. Let's get your mind off. Let's go swimming. Let's go surfing. Let's go on a hike. Let's go do something. Mm-hmm. So just doing something or anything will help get the mind off of a trouble or something like that. Have you experienced anything like that? Okay, mm-hmm. Perfect, right? Mm-hmm. But right in the middle of the golf game, break the thing and freak out because, or tomorrow it's just there again. Mm-hmm. So the thing you engage your senses in has to be for Krishna. That's Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise it's not yoga, it's just, okay, get your mind off of it, let's go over to Nayarit and go surfing. I'm gonna be doing that in the next couple weeks. I've been away from the ocean too long. And that will take your mind off your troubles, whatever, right? But the troubles, they just come back. It's not a cure. It's not a cure. It helps, but it's not a cure. Bhakti Yoga is a cure, you see. Mm-hmm. And so we have to learn how to do things for Krishna. Music. What kind of music are you going to play? Well, the music that Krishna likes to hear. That's called bhajan, kirtan, things like that. What kind of art are you going to draw? Now, Carlos, if you keep drawing those cartoons, you're going to be in a loony bin house yourself because you're drawing all this kooky, crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
So there's a whole world of artists around the world that just paint stories and things from the Puranas and the Vedas and all these things. And amazing stuff. There's some very famous artists in Europe and especially in India. They've been doing this for centuries. Actually, Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy, who was the wife of the American President Kennedy, she had the biggest collection of Krishna art in the world. Wow. Yeah, she was a big collector, huge collector of the costly stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. But Krishna art, there's so many schools of art. Mm-hmm. There's even comic books in India. It's called Amar Chitakata, and you can buy it in any train station. It's all the comic books. But it's the story of Krishna and Arjuna and Mahabharata stories and the demons attacking and Krishna killing the dragons and whatever. It's all in comic books for kids. So it's art. The art is for Krishna. That doesn't mean that's the only thing you can paint or draw, but I'm just going to tell you, for Krishna. you like to cook or you want to learn how to cook, you have to learn to cook for Krishna and how to offer what you cook to Krishna. And this is an important point for somebody who's going to become a bhakti yogi. And that's cook and offer to Krishna, then take that prasad, take that food. That will nourish your body because it's all good things. And it will nourish your consciousness also because it's the purest form of food. But when we eat something from outside, we call it travel junk food, you know. My favorite is fritos. I travel with fritos or, what's it called? Charitos.
Churritos de
Probably
nopal.
charitos. Pues bueno, you know. But, you know, you walk in an OXXO and it's like, you really don't want to eat most of that stuff that's in there. It's bad. Even the fritos and the Cheetos, they're not good. But, you know, that we call travel junk food. That'll kill you if you're not careful, though. But every day here, we cook a breakfast, and we make an offering to Krishna here on our little house altar. In the evening, again, we cook, and on the day we're on the run, it's palomitas and sometimes churritos and fritos. But what you eat is very important, especially in the beginning, you see. Because someone who's older devotee, I can reach into my bank balance. I'm not talking money. I can reach into my practice and call that up for the day to carry me through where it was so hectic, I couldn't do any of the standard practices maybe, except for follow the basic rules and not do something bad. But in the beginning, every day counts. You don't need, and you don't want to have gaps. You need to fill it all up. You need to put, it's called sukriti, your spiritual assets by chanting, studying, doing kirtan, taking prasadam, being with the bhaktas. That's what you call a yogi. In bhakti yoga, you call him a bhakta or her a bhakta. And you're accumulating that sukriti, you're accumulating, it's your spiritual assets. And one day, you'll have enough, you'll be able to draw on that in a time of great need. You see. That need may be a problem period in your life. That need may be, we couldn't practice. We were traveling for 40 hours and got delayed flights and couldn't eat and it was all terrible trying to get to India or something. This happens. You couldn't chant, you couldn't do anything, you couldn't get a bath. You know. And some people have no asset by the time they get there, they're just done. You know, they're just like, I'm out of it. Right? And others just land and they've had some spiritual strength to draw from. You know what I'm saying? So in the beginning, it's very, very important to keep up a steady regulation in your practice. And it's hard at home. We all live in situations outside and it's hard to wait. It begins early in the morning. It's hard to get up early in the morning. You see, we live with family or we have a roommate or friends and it's like hard to do that, you know. We want to be vegetarian. They don't, you know. Roommates all this time. It's hard for people. And pretty much what you find over time is that people, when there's enough serious people in one place, then it becomes a community, and within that community, everything is provided. Everybody contributes something in that community. You have an ashram at the center, you have a group of friends and talented people, or just maybe they're not talented in any special way, but there's a complete social structure. This exists. Like in India, in our ashram, there are 150 people who live near and around it, maybe more, maybe 200. And so that's the community, very important. You want to know about community? Look at the Jews. They got community. They won't even hire you if you're not a Jew. They keep all the money in the community, the jobs in the community, the politics, they stick together. So, and there are others. The Mormons, very much like that. Many of the religious groups do that. The yoga community overall in the world isn't that developed. People just come to a yoga shala and the rest of their life is they're working with people who don't do yoga, or they're not vegan, they're not vegetarian, they're not doing anything. So, but what we work for is community and establishing a place of ashraya. Ashraya means shelter. and that's an ashram. And there you find like-minded people in the sense of their spiritual interest. We are both very broad-minded and very narrow-minded at the same time. It's kind of like a dichotomy, it's how can you be broad-minded and narrow-minded? We're broad-minded about the truth, but we're narrow-minded about what actually fits into that category. It's like you want to see the heavens, you need a powerful telescope, and it just doesn't do to have one little dot. You need to see the broader picture. You see? So it's a combination of being very liberal and very strict, very broad and very negative, very austere, but we only accept the best, not junky things, bad things. But we don't look to just lavish ourselves with possessions or the way we live. It's austere, but at the same time it's comfortable. And this is required for most human beings. Most of us, although I have lived in a cave when I was younger doing Ashtanga, it's not recommended. How are you going to go live in a cave? You ready to go live in a cave? We already live in the dungeon. They live down below the carport. It's a nice room. It's a nice cave. It's a comfortable one.
Pero bien cómodo. Ok. Entonces al principio hablaba, de cómo involucrar los sentidos para controlar la mente. Pero quería que quedara claro que muchas veces involucrar los sentidos es como lo que mencionaba el ejemplo de que tenemos muchas veces saturada la cabeza, algunos problemas, y lo que hacemos es vamos a jugar golf, vamos a surfear, vamos a nadar, vamos a hacer algo, y ya te liberas de todo eso, pero regresas y otra vez me está atacando eso, ¿no? Entonces, ¿cómo envuelves esos sentidos? Y decía que la única forma, la solución para que esos sentidos poco a poco se vayan arreglando es envolverlos en el Bhakti Yoga o ofrecer las cosas de Krishna. Y puso el ejemplo de la música, que en la música cómo envuelves algo que le gusta a Krishna, pues es a través de los bhajans, que es es un tipo de música que le gusta a Krishna, o en el arte, de una forma de contar las historias, como decía Carlos, de ciertos puranas que involucran cierta historia y cierto conocimiento que te llevan hacia eso, no nada más como crear por crear. También mencionaba que la esposa de Kennedy es una coleccionista de arte que tiene todo el arte de Krishna. Y de ahí mencionó que, bueno, eso es una forma también de estar haciendo involucrando tus sentidos, ¿no? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué menciona todo esto que es importante? Porque muchas veces, si no somos serios o no tenemos una regulación o no nos mantenemos estables, cuando llega el momento de la necesidad por algún problema, vamos a estar ya fundidos, porque no vamos a tener armas para poder avanzar. Entonces eso era lo importante. Y decía que es muy importante también que si te vuelves serio en una práctica del Bhakti Yoga, debes de aprender a cocinar y también a cómo ofrendar eso, cómo preparar y ofrendar hacia Krishna. Bueno, sí, lo que decíamos, ¿no? Entonces es difícil, pero también se debe de mantener una constante regulación, que el principio es muy difícil, pero si hay seriedad, normalmente vas a caer a un grupo de personas o comunidad donde esas personas están practicando eso y se da un soporte en todos esos aspectos. Dice que los judíos, los mormones, todos ellos normalmente hacen esas cosas, porque ya vas a estar como envuelto en ciertas situaciones, pero también las necesidades que tengas o lo que te falte se va a proveer con este tipo de comunidad en todos los aspectos. Entonces normalmente de la comunidad, de ahí que se busca en una comunidad, pues tomar como un asraya, que es el refugio de esas personas que están en esa práctica. Pero también dice que están los dos lados, la parte de lo austero. No tiene que ser nada más, por ejemplo, en la cuestión de la comida austero, ir a comprar tus fritos al Oxxo y ya con eso, ¿no? Lo austero tiene que ser también una discriminación y seleccionar lo mejor. Y lo austero en un hogar es de pequeño, limpio, pero también cómodo a la vez, ¿no? Tiene que haber un balance, no tiene que ser como en extremo, como le preguntaba a Deva aquí, ¿a poco te gustaría vivir en una cueva? Pues yo creo que a nadie nos gustaría vivir en una cueva. Perdón.
There's also something called Varnashram. And the Varnashram is a system, the social system. Like when things get really big, like in India, you have a Varnashram system. And again, that includes, Bhakti Yoga includes everything, including medicine. What kind of medicine? Well, we're very practical. If you break a leg or do something like this, then best you go to the kind of doctor that knows how to set a bone and do all this kind of stuff. But for overall just chronic illnesses and things that kind of plague us, we follow a system called Ayurveda. Have you heard of this? Ayurveda. Well, that is a God-conscious system of medicine. And before you take that medicine, you're supposed to say, Om Dhanvantari Narayan Namaha. And then you take the medicine. Dhanvantari is the person, the avatar who brought this medicine to the world. And you're offering your, what they call pranams, your respects and appreciation to Dhanvantari, who brought this medicine to the world. Of course, it doesn't mean if you don't say that, you won't get the benefit of the medicine. In fact, these days, I don't know that many people actually will say the mantras, but there are mantras even for taking medicine. The system is divided between students, family people, retired elders, and renunciates. That's basically the spiritual side of the social structure. And then the material side of it is the intellectuals, the military, the economic branch, and the artist, and various types of working and crafts people, whether their craft is to grow food or their craft is to make something out of clay or whatever. So that's called the Sudra, and the Brahmin, the intellectuals, the military, who are only supposed to defend. I would say Mexico has probably got more, in one sense, more of a Kshatriya army than most countries in the world, because they don't attack anybody, right? You come and attack Mexico, they're going to shoot you, They're going to defend. That's what a Kshatriya is. He's a protector. They are defenders, not aggressors, not attackers, like our neighbors in the north. They got wars going on all over planet Earth. At least 10 or 20 on any given day, there's a war going on, covert or overt, but people are being killed. That's not a Kshatriya. That's not a Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a defender. And the Vaishyas, those are the business people. Their duties for all these people, mentioned again in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita being the handbook of yoga, but it's telling you in your position of life what you should be doing so that that position is just not mundane, so that it is connected to the higher consciousness.
Ok, dice que en el Varnasrama, existe el Varnasrama, que es como un sistema social, y lo describe de tal forma, existen lo que son los estudiantes, la familia, los retirados y los renunciantes. Ese es en la parte de la cuestión espiritual. Y en la cuestión social también existe lo que es el intelectual, que es los brahmanas, militares, son los kshatriyas, los que se dedican a los negocios o a la economía, a los artistas, que son los vaisyas, y los trabajadores duros, como los que cosechan algo, cultivan algo, cosechan, recolectan, o los que trabajan en el barro, que son trabajadores duros, y nada más hasta ahí. Pero dice que normalmente, en esta cuestión de los militares, puso un ejemplo, el kshatriya en esta época ya no existe como tal, y pone el ejemplo de que México es como, su ejército es kshatriya porque no está atacando nunca, no es como los vecinos del norte, ¿no? Que siempre están atacando hacia alguien. Se supone que la posición del kshatriya es defender o proteger a la ciudadanía. Por ejemplo, si viene alguien a atacar a México, pues los militares tienen que defender eso. Y incluso en el Bhagavad Gita se menciona ahí todo esto que están desglosando, como cuál es tu posición, pero cómo debe de ser conectada para que te lleve a una conciencia pura.
While you were talking, I forgot the next point. So you can see the picture I'm trying to paint. But practically speaking, like to just maybe say something that's more immediate to your question is, practice chanting early in the morning. Engage your mind in a spiritual activity as soon as you're awake. In other words, start chanting before you even stand up. And then go do your brushing the teeth and whatever you do in the morning, bathing and combing and painting. Ladies do a little bit of that, right? And then chant early. Don't like, oh, I'm going to do some chanting at 10 o'clock. You know, you've lost the, what do they call it? The moment. Seize the moment. Act now. The day has begun. It's early. It's whatever you can call the earliest you can, you know, rise up and begin there. Some spiritual activities. Start your day. You know, when you learned to dance when you were a kid, I don't know if they did that in Mexico, you learned to dance, I can't even remember anymore, the left foot forward, right? You start to dance by doing the left foot forward. I don't know how they dance nowadays, but before it was just all this stuff from the 40s, the waltz and all this stuff they used to teach us, you know, the boy and the girl. And if you didn't do it right, you stepped on the girl's toes or she kicked you in the leg. How to begin, left foot forward. So first thing, primero, some spiritual activity of a bona fide, authentic nature. Chanting. Or someone says, I'll wake up the kids if I chant that early. Then crack a book. Read the Bhagavad Gita. Doesn't make any noise. You know. Or, I just don't have the energy to do this. Okay, put on a pair of buds or a headset and listen to a bhajan. Turn on a tape recorder or whatever plays music in your house and put some background spiritual sound in there. All of that adds up and it all helps. So, some people will say, and they have said, you're brainwashing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You're brainwashing. We say yes. And when it's fully washed, then all our problems are gone. It's true. We're washing the anarthas, not just brain, heart also, deep into desire and karma brought to this life from 1,000 lifetimes before. So yes, we are washing, and when everything is fully limpio, clean, then we will know samadhi. We will know ananda. Ananda. It's not just a name, it's a state of very high consciousness. That's a very, very blessed name, Ananda. Yeah. So then we'll know Ananda, spiritual happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction. And it's not alien. As we move forward in Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, the experience isn't alien. It's warm, it's comforting. It has even been called home comfort.
Perdón. No hay que perder la oportunidad, como decía, no hay que perder ese momento. Incluso antes de levantarnos, hay que empezar cantando el mantra. Y bueno, como decía, normalmente nos paramos, lavamos nuestros dientes, cara, nos pintamos, pero siempre como estar enfocados en que antes que hacer cualquier cosa debemos de involucrarnos en algo espiritual. Y decía que es cantar en la mañana, porque no vas a levantarte y ya son 10 de la mañana y ya no hay tiempo para esto, ¿no? O sea, como hacer ese esfuerzo para no perder el momento. Como ponía el ejemplo de cuando aprendes a bailar, en los 40 dabas unos pasos para adelante. Si no aprendes eso, vas a estar pisando a la persona con la que estás bailando. En el proceso es lo mismo. Y decía que muchas veces pueden decir, cuando estás cantando el Mahamantra, nada más estás lavando el cerebro. Sí estás lavando el cerebro para quitar cosas de la mente, pero aparte estás lavando el corazón de forma profunda, pero no solo de esta vida, sino de todo lo que acarreamos de vidas pasadas. Y vamos así poco a poco conocer lo que es, lo que es el samadhi, el ananda, cuando ya todo se quite. Pero decía que todo eso debe de ser con una naturaleza auténtica, no puede ser como algo forzado e impuesto. Y igual, si después de cantar tus mantras hay que forzarnos también a leer escritura trascendental, ¿no? Como el Bhagavad Gita o ciertos libros, o poner en tu cuarto o en tu sala o en tu cocina sonidos trascendentales de bhajans o del Mahamantra. Pero no es de que sea como algo muy extraño, que sea como extraterrestre lo que vas a sentir, sino es como algo cálido, es como una comodidad de hogar, lo que se siente.
Did you have more than one question today? We were going to kind of give you the floor for questions.
Yes,
but the next ones I'm going to answer short, not long.
La siguiente la va a responder más corta.
So if you engage your senses, it's also the answer to, at least for the first step to practice the non-attachment, or because I also have a lot of questions about the non-attachment. How do you start practicing it? Not only
non-attachment, you have to develop attachment for something. And because attachment is human nature. It's not only human, animal nature, even the birds. One day, we're walking with our guru, and he passed under a place in the park, and there was all this bird droppings on the sidewalk in that area. And he asked his students, "What does this mean?" So everybody's like, I don't know. He said, the birds are attached to coming to the same place every day to do their business. They're also attached. So attachment is everywhere.
Entonces, la pregunta es de... ¿Cómo era la pregunta?
Del apego. ¿Cómo se empieza a practicar el no apego? O si también como ¿cómo se dice? Cómo enfocar tus sentidos hacia Krishna. Es el paso como para practicar.
Y decía Guru Maharaj que está el no apego, pero también siempre hay un apego a las cosas, ¿no? Y el apego es porque es la naturaleza humana. Incluso puse el ejemplo de que estás viendo que ciertos pájaros están llegando a un cierto lugar siempre, ¿no? Entonces un día un profesor le dijo a sus estudiantes, ¿qué significa eso? Y todos, no, pues quién sabe, que los pájaros también están apegados, o sea, están haciendo sus asuntos siempre en lo mismo, ¿no?
So we want to increase positive attachments, which are good for us and everybody else, and we want to decrease negative attachments. So there are practices. But first we have to identify where those are personally. And every individual will know a little bit more personally what they're really attached to. For householders, people who live in the world, who have families and things like this, food distribution is recommended for them, prasadam distribution, to help arrange for the distribution of food. And in other words, charitable works. Doing something to help other people in some capacity. This is a way of shifting one's personal attachments. And what is everybody most attached to in this world? Overall, the world speaking, it's money. It's not sex, it's power and money. And these things are so abused in the world. So we're poor people. Even if you have a nice apartment and a good car and all this stuff and eat 3 fantastic meals a day and have the best clothes from Armani's and Gucci's, and you are dirt poor compared to the rich people. Remember, 99% of the money in the whole world is owned by 1% of the people. And actually it's 1% of 1%. 1/100th of a percent. They own all the money. We all share the crumbs. Literally the crumbs. There is so much wealth in the world. Everybody could have such a better standard of living. There could be free medical for everybody, best education, free. Enough money is there. Who the hell needs $50 billion to be happy? Well, there are hundreds and thousands of these billionaires around the world. They got billions. Now, I'm not recommending communism, but there should be a limit. But it's not. It's this greed for wealth and attachment, and then Forbes magazine lists you as in the top, 500 corporation CEOs, and that's your false ego, your ahankar, and all this. And this is what's made the world the terrible place that it is. And it is a terrible place now. I was in Africa for, I think, almost 4 years. There are so many wars, famines, butchery, slaughter. It's unbelievable. Then you go to the Middle East, it's just, it's unbelievable, just the stuff that goes on in the world. Yet there's so much money. It could change everything. The United States spends how much last year? $6 trillion on war. Why don't they do some good work? $6 trillion. Hell, I'd make the devil my friend. Understand? You could be so kind to people. You could do so much good to people. How can they hate you? How could they be against you? Of course, the Muslims hate America. You should see what America's done to Muslim countries. Then you can understand a little bit why we've created this problem. And the money just keeps flowing. 800 military bases around the world. 800! Staffed with missiles and surrounding Russia with missiles. Russia doesn't have any military bases anywhere, and they don't surround anybody. But NATO and everybody's surrounding Russia because they want Russia to fight back. Why? Well, it'll reduce a lot of population, and we'll make a lot of money. Simple as that. Lots of money. It's called the military, what do you call it? The military industrial complex. So, what can you do? Money is wasted on the rich. Youth is wasted on the young people. Because when you're young, you don't worry about anything. You're just going to live forever, right? You don't ever think about dying. You're just going to live. You're in the beginning of life. After you've lived life, you realize, God, how much of my life did I waste? Yes, my wife wasted life. You know, how much of all that, you know, and life is very, very short. Right now it looks like forever. After you get up towards the end, it's like, oh my gosh, that was a short movie. That was just like, it's over, and now there's only a little bit left. So, yeah, about the money though, it's really a shame. So, detachment, what little money you have, you try to do some good for that. And the best good you can do is good first to yourself and then to others spiritually. Try to learn how to do some what we call spiritual welfare work, to do good. And I had a heart doctor once for blood pressure, right? And my blood pressure was like off the charts, and they want to put me in the hospital and everything. And I'm listening to the doctor, right? And then I go out. I come back and the doctor's not there, and I go out, and the guy's standing outside the hospital smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, what the hell is this? These are the kind of teachers I had in high school. It wasn't that I was stupid, but I really wasn't interested in probably almost anything they had to teach. And my math teacher stunk, man. He had the worst breath. He had BO. Oh, and his fingers were all yellow because he's a chain smoker. And if you had a question, he'd come to your desk to talk to you. No question. Here he comes. Then we go by. And I flunked Algebra 1. Wham! Finished, you know. Teachers, in the Vedic sense, set an example for the students. But what are teachers today? They're just paid Joes and gals, and it's their job, and they don't really give a, you know, and that's the end of it, you know. The Vedic concept of, and I used to hear teachers were always complaining they were the lowest paid people in the structure, next to, you know, maids or a few things like that. And I used to think, even as a kid, I would think, it looks like to me they have the most important job in society. Why are these people paid the less? So that you're going to maybe get people that migrate to that job because they're not that great. And your best performers, your best people will be trying for the higher paying jobs, right? Your more talented people. And leaving, you know, there's a saying, teachers are men against men in the presence of children, and they are children in the presence of men. I mean, the respect of teachers in the world is down on the bottom. I thought, no, they should be on the top. And in Vedic society, they are on the top. The Brahmin, the Guru, the teacher, they're at the top. Not anymore. Used to be that way.
Okay, estaba hablando de la cuestión de los apegos, ¿no? De cómo hacer que un apego, bueno, perdón, antes de nada, decía que el apego, lo más fuerte no es ni el sexo, ni el comer, sino es más bien el dinero y el poder, que son muy fuertes dentro de todos nosotros. Siempre queremos como mucho dinero, pero recordemos que siempre somos pobres comparados con la gente rica. La gente rica que tiene el 99% de la riqueza y es el 1% nada más ellos, ¿no? Pero decía que para poder quitarse ese apego con ese poquito de dinero que tengamos, poder hacer algo bueno, algo positivo por alguien más, pero no, involucrarlo de forma espiritual, ¿no? Y ponía varios ejemplos. Como dice que en Estados Unidos, los Estados Unidos gastan 6 trillones de dólares en la guerra, cuando pudieron haber ayudado a la gente y pudieron ser amables y la gente querría, pero obviamente muchos odian a Estados Unidos, como los musulmanes, porque siempre han estado bajo ataque de ellos, ¿no? Entonces, ¿cómo no lo van a odiar? Igual los de Estados Unidos tienen 800 bases alrededor del mundo rodeando a otras naciones. ¿Para qué? Para provocar guerra. Aquí nos referimos a la cuestión de Rusia, que Rusia está rodeado por los Estados Unidos tratando de provocar, pero ¿para qué? Decía Guru Maharaj, para que se reduzca la población y también para poder hacer más dinero. Entonces, y hablando de la cuestión puse un ejemplo de que una vez que fue al hospital, porque tenía la presión muy alta, pues nadie lo atendía y se paró y empezó a buscar al doctor y sale y se da cuenta que el doctor está ahí echadito, echándose un cigarro, ¿no? Entonces, ¿qué es eso? Que le empezó a recordar que eso le recuerda cuando era joven y que iba a la escuela y que sus maestros no eran ejemplo, ¿no? Fumando, mal aliento y todo así, ¿no? Entonces, pero en la cuestión del sistema védico, al maestro siempre se le ve primero, y no como ahorita, ¿no? Que al maestro y al guru. Pero ahorita, en este sistema, el maestro siempre se está quejando de que es mal pagado, y el maestro no es un ejemplo, y tienen un deber muy importante.
So, attachment is natural. Now we want to transfer our attachment to Krishna and to good things. We cannot just be no attachment. There are yoga systems that tries, what was his name? Satchinandan. He was around big in the 60s, early 70s. I don't think he's alive anymore. His name was Satchinandan Swami. He wrote a book on detachment, how to be detached, but you couldn't keep it up for a life because attachment is natural. So we want to transfer our attachment to good things and ultimately to Krishna. It doesn't just happen overnight, but one day you wake up and the previous attachments have been dissolved. They're gone, and you have new attachments, which are actually good. They're good for the people around you, they're good for yourself.
Como el apego es natural, pero la cuestión de que no es como eliminar los desapegos, sino debe haber un apego hacia cosas buenas y apego hacia Krishna, ¿no? Como antes un Swami escribió, Satchinandana Swami escribió un libro del desapego, pero aquí más bien se transforma todo a que debe de haber un apego a algo. Por ejemplo, puedes despertarte un día y ya no tener el apego a esa cosa, pero vas a tener apego a otra cosa, que es más, ¿cómo dijo?
Pues va a llegar un día donde tus apegos anteriores ya son resueltos y tienes apegos beneficiosos para ti y para los alrededor.
Now, some people will become so attached to chanting that if they don't get to chant, that they get a little dysfunctional. That's not necessarily a good thing, but it's not the worst of things. And I'll give you an example of Ishwar. His wife, Brajalila, I heard through the grapevine one day, she told him, I said, you got to chant because you haven't been chanting and you're getting a little bit out of whack, out of balance. So yeah, the spiritual practice, we become attached to it, and sometimes when we can't do it, it will affect our nature and we won't be as balanced. But that's because we are still in the beginning and intermediate stage. Later, then, even if we're locked up, handcuffed, tape over our mouth, and not allowed to do any practice, well, too late. We've already got it within, and no one can take that away from you. No one can stop you there. Then you're what's called a liberated soul. In the beginning, you're still conditioned by the environment, by all kinds of things. But in the end, you're not conditioned by anything. That's called liberated. There are two types of souls, liberated and conditioned. Mukta jivas, liberated, and Bada jivas, conditioned. Two types. The yoga system is to take the Bada jivas who are conditioned in this material world and raise their consciousness to the state of liberation. Now, you know, one of the greatest hatha yogis or yogis in the modern world was not Maharishi, because I studied, it's been a long time. He was a disciple of Shivananda, and what's his name? Because I began yoga under him. I can't even remember his name anymore. Anyway, he died of dialysis problem, failed liver and all this. But he was one of the lifetime yogis. Pratibha Joyce, also one of the most famous modern yoga teachers in Mysore. In the end, he was rather way overweight, and he wasn't up to doing very much asanas. So asanas, when you're young, yeah, you can just be the Superman or the Supergirl with the asanas, and you might be able to keep up, but then nothing you can do about it. The fluids that keep your knees loose and all this stuff fail you, and all of a sudden your sciatic nerve kicks in, and pretty soon you're on the skids. You're not able to keep up with the hatha yoga. With bhakti yoga, it's all about consciousness. And in the beginning, sickness and everything can pull you down. You know, social problems, a divorce or something like that, something traumatic, a death close to you, that can shake you and pull you down. But at a point, nothing can shake you. That's called dhira or nishta. It's called fixed. No more can the object be taken out of your focus. The object being Krishna and Krishna consciousness. But that's not just like, oh, you said take the red pill, where is it? Give me the red pill. It's all over. No. Any kind of thing like that, you come back down. So it's a practice. It's an engagement for life. It's a goal in life. You don't, the artist isn't at his prime in his 20s. Anybody who's performing and doing something amazing in this world, usually it takes, many decades, and then they start to become really excellent at whatever it is they do. So bhakti yoga, the same. It's progressive. And it's meant for our whole life, not just for a little segment in our life, although some people only go for a little segment, it's true. Many of my friends were there in the beginning, 40, 50 years ago. They just disappeared, and guess what? Whoop! Then they came back 40 years later. And again, life's intermediate stage just took them on a journey, Some became fabulously rich, some became famous, some didn't make it through to come back, you see. But whatever you progress in this life, spiritually, I'm talking about in the yoga system, and even if it's cut short and the rest of your life is, something totally mundane, totally negative, you come back again in the next life, guaranteed as a human being, and you again begin from where you left off. But you become wealthy in this life and then your money is lost. Your money is lost. It doesn't come back to you in the next life automatically. So that is one of the beauties of bhakti yoga. In fact, our guru wrote an article once to save the human being from becoming an animal again. Now in India, you talk about reincarnation. Everybody knows about reincarnation. You're like talking about the sun. Yeah, the sun, yeah, the reincarnation. But everybody thinks, life after life, I'll be a human being. That's the mistake. Because they have not, it's become too generally accepted and people aren't really understanding what this various species of life is, what is karma, what is reincarnation. And we have many stories of yogis being sent back and becoming animals in their next life due to a particular defect that they had. We also have many stories of people who were even couples together, married couples together, and in the next life they were again together, although it's very rare. We have this saying nowadays, I met my soulmate, my soul partner type of thing, right? In English they say that, right? Well, that's kind of a more of a sentiment like, yeah, we really harmonize, we we're on the same page, we really connect, that type of thing. But that they were together in a previous life, that is very, 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 that is almost impossible, rare, but it does happen due to attachment. Attached to good things. Husband and wife become very attached, they're good people, they may be together in the next life, you see. So it's hard to know all that, but there are examples. You know, when I point over there, that bookshelf, look over there. Look how many books are on that bookshelf. Have you even read that many books in your life? Have you read that many individual books in your life? Different titles?
Hemos leído tantos libros en nuestra vida como esos tantos que hay ahí.
Una pregunta.
I mean, books of the world, novels and science fiction. No, I only ever read 2. I read Treasure Island and Kon-Tiki. Oh, sorry, an autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I only ever read 3 books before I read the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I've read all those books and more for pretty much the last 50 years. There is a lot of information. If you want more information, we got information. Lots and lots of it.
En resumen, dice que hay muchas personas que hay veces que están tan apegados al cantar el santo nombre que si no lo cantan quedan como desestabilizados. Por una parte es bueno y por otra es como más o menos, ¿no? Porque ponía el ejemplo de que a lo mejor algunas veces cuando llega el momento de que tengas que ser austero en eso y que no lo practiques, ya no puedes regresar tan fácil, ¿no? Ya no puedes realizar tu práctica. Y platicaban de que el Hatha Yoga, hay no recuerdo el nombre, pero una persona en Mysore que tenía mucha práctica en el Hatha Yoga, ¿no? Y que podía doblarse todo, y de jóvenes dice que lo podemos hacer, pero que ya de viejos llega el momento donde los líquidos, los huesos, los cartílagos empiezan a perder fortaleza y ya no es lo mismo. Entonces se refiere a que el Bhakti Yoga todo tiene que ver con la conciencia. Dice que en el Bhakti Yoga lo que te puede detener después de un ratito de estarlo practicando es o una enfermedad muy fuerte o la muerte de alguien muy cercano o la misma muerte a ti, ¿no? Pero dice que cuando llevas practicando ya el proceso del Bhakti Yoga, llegas a una etapa que es el Vira Nishta, que es cuando ya estás enfocado, que ya todo lo que tienes aquí adentro, ya como que ya nadie te lo quita, ¿no? Ya es, aunque dejes de practicar por un momento, por un tiempo, ya lo tienes aquí adentro y puedes salir adelante con todo eso. Pero dice que eso no llega de la noche a la mañana, sino que más bien lleva todo un proceso, ¿no? Como principiantes. Pero existen 2 tipos de personalidades, las que son las almas liberadas y las almas condicionadas. Y el deber de las liberadas son las que ya tienen esa conciencia pura, es jalar a todas las almas condicionadas, que somos nosotros, para poder llevarnos a lo espiritual, a desarrollar esa conciencia. Dice que en India también se habla mucho de reencarnación, y que todos sí saben de reencarnación, que no vas a ver de reencarnación, pero en sí todos pensamos que vamos a reencarnar siempre en humanos, y esa no es la verdad, que su maestro espiritual escribió un libro de cómo salvar al humano de caer en vida animal, ¿no? Pero que hay muchas historias también en los libros de cómo muy rara vez ciertas almas se pueden volver a encontrar, pero que eso es muy raro, ¿no? O que tuvieron que cumplir un deber como animales o otras especies inferiores para volver a tomar el cuerpo humano. Yeah.
There's what's called in English the higher taste. There's what we say in English, the higher taste.
Hay un dicho en inglés que dice el sabor más elevado.
For example,
el gusto superior.
On the street sometimes there's these little vendors selling ice creams on a little stick or something, you know, really cheap. You get it for 3 or 5 pesos or something like that, you know. It's like,
como los que venden helado en los carritos que te venden por 3, 4 pesos en el botecito, ¿no?
But then I have seen in certain places all over the world some stores selling gelato. You know about gelato? It's primero ice cream. And there's some other brands in the world that are like really, really good. Well, once you've got, experience of eating gelato and somebody says, oh, you want a stick of ice cream? It's like, no thanks. Because in comparison, one is a very cheap, chemically colored, poorly flavored, over-sugared, and the other is a more natural, more organic, not so sweet, it's got real taste, not just sugar. Understand? So it's called replace the lower taste with a higher taste.
Se trata de reemplazar las cosas bajas con un gusto superior. Pone el ejemplo de los helados baratitos de 3, 4 pesos que están llenos de químicos, de colorantes, super azucarados que llegan al sabor de la fruta que te dicen solo es azúcar. O está gelato, ¿no? Que es como muy buen helado que tiene sabor natural, muy orgánico, sin tanta azúcar. Entonces si te ofrecen esos dos helados, pues vas a escoger aunque sea muy más caro pero porque tiene un gusto superior.
So when there's higher taste, the transfer of attachment becomes natural.
Entonces cuando hay un gusto superior a las cosas, la transferencia del apego se da de forma natural.
Now, there's a movie, it's on YouTube, it's around, it was in the cinemas, it's called Fast Food Nation. Fast Food Nation. And they throw a little bit of sex in there and everything, and because actually it's like a documentary, it really happens. How particularly people are from Mexico, particularly women, when they go to the United States, they get sucked into this called fast food nation, the fast food industry, the slaughterhouse, and then they're grossly abused. The movie is not exaggerating. But the part is most interesting, and Bruce Willis shows up in this. You know Bruce Willis? Yeah. He's never advertised and listed, but he's in the movie. It's like, oh, there's Bruce Willis, you know? And there are two things in there of interest. One is in all commercial meat, there's caca in the meat. Because when these animals get their heads cut off, excuse me, they shit all over the place. You know, and so would you. You know, and there's no way they can keep it all so clean, and it ends up in the meat. So Bruce Willis plays this guy who's selling the meat for the meat industry, and he's the one guy is saying there's shit in the meat, and Bruce Willis says, yeah, but the price is right, so just suck it up and eat it. The price is right. It's a good price, so just take it. That's the one thing. There's actually animal excrement and ground up hair and all kind of stuff. And the lower the meat, the worse it is. Woo-hoo! Till the end of it, I had a friend who worked in the slaughterhouse. They sweep the floor, and all that goes into a grinder and a little red color and all this stuff, and voila, you got hamburger meat. The lowest of the low. Okay, that shows you in this movie. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, and the other one is the chemical additives for taste. In all prepackaged, pre-cooked food, and it's in all the fast food industry, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Kitchen. You go, don't do it, but you go to McDonald's and you eat a hamburger in Mexico City, and notice the taste. Then get on an airplane and fly to New York and order the same hamburger at a McDonald's. It's the same taste. Then fly around the world to all the biggest cities in the world and take the same thing. It's all the same taste. Then do another thing. Go to a local restaurant in Mexico City and order French fries. There'll be a certain taste. Then go to New York and order French fries. It's a different taste. And go around the world and eat at local restaurants, and you'll see the same food has different tastes, right? But McDonald's, Kentucky Fried, it's all the same. That's only possible with chemical control of the taste. And then, with the chemical control of the taste, there's what's called taste enhancers. And these taste enhancers have an addictive quality the same as cocaine. The same as a line of cocaine. And the addiction sets in, a mental addiction. Not a physical one, a mental addiction sets in through these taste enhancers. All right, so attachment. Take the red pill. So you got the floor today. You have another question?
No.
Two? That was it?
I have a lot of things to think about.
To assimilate.
Exactly.
Digest.
Yes.
And don't be afraid. Like this isn't like everything I try to explain to you and everybody else isn't always perfect. You know, you're the hearer, so you will know, does it inspire, or does it frustrate, or does it not connect? But in any case, you don't have to be afraid, particularly, shyness is a good quality, but you should not be afraid to say, well, I couldn't understand what you're saying, or, you don't even have to, don't be afraid to say, well, I don't really think that's true or anything, anything, because that will give me a second chance to convince you. You want to hear a growth story? There was this friend of ours, became our friend. He came over to Jayadeva's house during a festival when Jayadeva's oldest son had signed up to join the military, right? So he was just, crossed 18. So the military knows that young boys go and join the Army or the Navy, if this happened to be the Navy. And a lot of times the parents will be, no, they're not, maybe not into it. So what the military does is they send someone over to speak to the parents to tell them how your son has made a great career decision. He's got a future, he's a good lad, he's a patriot, to make the family feel good, right? So there was a festival going on in Jayadeva's house, just his family celebrating Radhastami. Okay, that's one of our festivals in the year. And this guy comes knocking at the door right in the middle of a kirtan. And they open the door and he's got his military beret on, he's got his combat boots, and in fact, he is a decorated, what they call a hero, a warrior, or whatever you call this, right? Now he's a devotee. And every day he chants, right? But that was the first step, and Jayadev just said, oh, come on in, and with boots and all just came in and sat down, and the kids are on the floor with the mridanga, and, there's this what's this, right? So they started feeding him prasadam. That was the hook. They got him. He was back. This started, 15 years ago? Right? And he just called again yesterday. Anyway, every time there's an airplane that's bombed or something like that in the world, terrorism, he shows up on the news because he is an authority on such things. He's anti-terrorist. He was Navy SEAL, he's a decorated war hero. He's at Congress, he speaks to Congress, he's a very big guy in that world, right? So one day, he was about 2 years in, I guess, 2 years in living in our neighborhood, and he goes, so why don't you guys eat eggs? Understand? Why don't you eat eggs? Mm-hmm. And I said, so Ken, you want the candy or you want the truth? In other words, you want me to soften it up? And I said, give it to me straight. I said, it's the ministration of a chicken. That's why we don't eat it. And he went, oh, that's gross. I said, that's why we don't eat it. It's gross. It's what it is, He went in and he told us later, he went home and he had 24 farm fresh eggs that he just bought from the farmer's market. He went home, opened his refrigerator, took the eggs, threw them out in the dog pen and let the dogs eat them. Right? But that's why. Or you can say, well, it's a cholesterol thing, it's bad for your health and all this stuff. That's also true. Well, what is this? In India, I say, why do you want to eat something that comes out of the ass of a chicken? Let's talk about it, people. Let's think about it. Let's get down home and funky here. What is it you're putting in your mouth? Why would you want to do that? Grains are growing, corn is growing, melons, calabasas, food is growing, picking mangoes from the fruit. And really, the plant's only on a 90-day cycle in most cases, or you pick the fruit, it grows back the next year. It's like, doesn't this start to make more sense on what we should be eating and putting into our body instead of all these dead things and these disgusting things? Okay. Once upon a time, one of our Guru's disciples, she wrote him a letter and said, the doctors say if I don't eat eggs, I will die. What should I do? She had some deficiency, and the doctors said egg is the only way you're going to get this thing which you need. So when I discovered this letter, I thought, oh wow, this is and I didn't really know what to expect. I just went on to the answer. He wrote her back and he said, if your condition is really what they say, then you can eat eggs as medicine, but not as food. There's a difference. So we can see that the teaching in Bhakti Yoga for the greater picture of the world and life in general, it's practical. It is not fanatical. If your life depends upon eating that, then you eat that. you don't just sit down and have a nice thing, a nice dinner and candlelight and eat your eggs and then, salsa it up. Maybe a little salsa there. You take it more like medicine. You boil the egg, you put, personally, me, I could probably find something else. I know I have one friend in Estados Unidos, he said that he had to eat fish. And I'm like, well, based on what I know, what is in fish, you can get from raisins and all kind of things. So whatever it is that's in that fish that you say you need to be healthy, you can get from the plant world without eating the fish. So, I didn't want to embarrass anybody or be too gross there, but, we have habits, we have attachments. There are things, we salt it up, we put a little pepper on it, it all seems very, very reasonable until someone says, well, do you know what that actually is? And then some people say, well, we used to tell people, well, that is life before life. And they go, oh yeah, but those are sterilized eggs. You know how they make eggs sterile? In other words, you keep the egg and put a little chicken on it and nothing will happen. There's nothing in it. It's just goop, right? It's like an abortion. It's like a discharge. It's just goop. And the way they do it is feed the chickens methadone. Hyper chickens. And you know what they also do to chickens these days? They cut their noses off so they don't peck each other. And in some places they cut their feet off also. And they just keep them in a thing, just a little box. And this thing comes by and a whoop, thing goes in their mouth and puts a bunch of stuff in there and then one egg comes out and goes along the conveyor belt. I mean, one guy told me, he said, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with eating chicken. I said, well, why don't you ask a chicken? I never saw a chicken go, come ahead, as soon as you pour it, like, there he goes. You ever see the cartoons running around chasing the chicken? Even a bug, the spider's on the floor and you come up and he senses you there, takes off, right? Yeah. Everyone wants to live. What the speed of the lower the species, memory and pain are almost non-existent. But once you enter the red-blooded creatures, they go all the way up to crying at the slaughterhouse. Cows cry. They move, they cry. Goats, bigger animals, sheep, they cry even. Chickens never saw one cry, but saw them run. So once you enter the red meat category, so the first step we say to vegetarian people is stop the red meat. And for now, eggs are okay, but later you'll wake up to that and go, oh my God, what have I been putting in my body? And best is the plant kingdom. It's the most unaggressive, evasive. When you take and pull a tomato off the plant doesn't let out some blood-curdling scream. It doesn't do anything, it just grows another one. And after 90 days, the tomato plant just does its thing and dies. There's a big difference. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, food that is cooked and not offered to him also has karma in it. But believe me, the karma from eating a tomato and the karma from eating a burger, a burgesa, a cow, or even a chicken is very, very different. People don't get food poisoning by eating bananas. They get food poisoning mainly from pollo. You know that from chicken. It's the lowest form of industrially providable food. And you see it everywhere in the world. The chicken thing is just out of control. So, all right, you don't have to explain that. We got that, right? No eggs here. Well, we're adults, right? I mean, there are certain things that, like, they're. Now, if you met somebody on the street, one of your friends, a relative, a cousin, they said, you're vegetarian, you eat eggs? No, we don't eat eggs. Why don't you eat eggs? Don't say that. Just say they're not good for your health, which is true. first thing a doctor would tell you, you're going into cardiac arrest and they do a heart surgery and you get out, what can I do to live, doctor? Stop eating meat, don't eat eggs, stop smoking, don't drink. Right? They'll tell you that right off. So there is medical proof to back it up that eating eggs is an unhealthy food. Secondly, it's torturous to these little birdies, you know. We keep parakeets in cage and then we cut the nose off of chickens and feed them methadone and all this stuff, and then they produce eggs for so long, then we chop them and rip their legs off and deep fry those, and it's just like, it's perpetuating cruelty. That's one thing. It's bad food for your health also. Tell them those things.
Sí, de todas estas cosas que se escucharon, si nos encontramos un amigo que, ¿qué? ¿Por qué no comes huevos? Pues no le vas a decir que lo burdo, lo agresivo, ¿no? Que es la menstruación, le vas a decir que, bueno, pues está probado clínicamente que cuando tienes una enfermedad, inmediatamente te dicen para de comer carne, de puerco, de todo, huevos, no beber, no fumar, ¿no? Porque aparte la otra cosa es que está comprobado que también son tratados muy cruelmente, ¿no? Los animales.